We're going to be talking about sustainability and e-commerce, the profitable path forward. Oh, hello, Jen. So Jen, I've like read all about your background. My whole team is like such a huge fan of yours. Tell me about your, like, how you even came up with Manifest. I mean, you're co-founder, you're VP of marketing. Tell me just a little bit about your background. It's not easy to bring stuff into fruition. So,
oh gosh, no, it's never easy, but it is well worth it when it comes to sustainability. And I mean, really, this business was born out of a real need to kind of shake up the market a bit. Because after 2020, there was such a boom in e-com, and that's a good thing. Commerce is good. But there was a logistics nightmare that came from that because there was a lot of waste that was created. So my co-founder and CEO, George, who is former co-founder of ShipBob, noticed that, hey, there's a better way to do this if we build sustainability in logistics and fulfillment solutions from the ground up. So we literally just reimagined the whole entire fulfillment process from end to end and looked at how we can be more environmentally friendly and also not have a hit to the bottom line. Because there's a common misconception too that if you are building sustainability into your business, that it can be more expensive. So, really, we just looked at everything from green warehousing all the way down to delivery and thought, hey, how do we do this better for the environment, serve our merchants who are thinking more sustainably, or, potentially plug in a fulfillment solution for brands that just aren't sustainable. And that's okay. Everyone can do what they can with what they got, and that's okay.
I love that. I mean, and completely on point with where the world's going, what we need to be thinking about. So I'll let you introduce the rest of the panelists, but congratulations, really fantastic.
Thank you very much. We are so excited to be here today, and we'll be talking into sustainability and profit. So really, when we think about sustainability, we think of it as a path to profit for our merchants. So we're going to be sharing that today. So let me share my screen here. We have a wonderful presentation and a great guest list today. So hello, everyone. We're so thrilled to be here, to be part of Founder Made's event today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And we're thrilled to be joining fellow leaders and innovators and founders from all over the globe, sharing and learning from each other's trials, tribulations, and triumphs. And welcome. This is our workshop, Sustainability, the Path to Profit for E-commerce. And we have George Wojciechowski, my fellow co-founder and CEO. Hi, George.
Hey, Jen, how are you?
Hey, good. So Manifest Commerce, so we are a sustainable 3PL solution for scaling omni-channel merchants. And George, he's an industry veteran in supply chain logistics. He also has a global economics background, and we'll be sharing a little bit about his journey, how he built a strong logistics company, and how we built Manifest Commerce from the learnings that George had there, really to bring a more sustainable 3PL model with no negative impact to the environment or a company's bottom line. And we also have another special guest joining us, David Fredericks. He is the CEO and co-founder. Hi, David. He's the CEO and co-founder of Circular, which is the leading sustainable marketplace platform. They offer verified and vetted earth ethical goods for the entire family and home. And he's really on a similar mission to us at Manifest and a powerful sustainability partner. He's looking to transform how future generations shop and make a positive impact on our environment as well. So George will be leading off the conversations today. He'll be speaking into what he learned along the way as a logistics leader, and really what he learned from creating an earth taxing logistics business and how we pivoted into this earth-friendly model. So without further ado, George, welcome to the virtual stage.
Super excited to be here, Jen. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you to Founder Made and everybody on this call to take your time to be a part of our segment. There's three main topics that I'm going to cover in the next 7-8 minutes. Firstly, my belief and my co-founders' beliefs that the current state of e-commerce is unsustainable. Secondly, the shifting in global consumer trends that you as a business owner need to be aware of. And thirdly, how you as a business owner can make an impact in both saving our planet and growing the bottom line of your business. So heading into the slides, I'll begin with, as a co-founder of ShipBob, a 3PL company launched in 2014, we did a fantastic job democratizing e-commerce and allowing D2C e-commerce business owner to have the same level of logistics as the biggest players in e-commerce. And I think back to 2014, and I remember how excited I was to usher in the new era of e-commerce entrepreneurship. Thousands of small businesses discovered there was a global market of consumers that they can now easily reach. And it was a very exciting time for both consumers and merchants. However, it didn't take me too long to start realizing troubling statistics. Like, for example, that supply chain is the #5 contributor to global waste, and that seemingly trivial materials like packing tape can take up to 500 years to biodegrade. I realized that I'd had a small part in helping build this monster, and a monster that was threatening humanity's very existence. So now I'm on a new mission as the CEO and co-founder of a 3PL company that is entirely green. You can read more about my company on this slide, Manifest Commerce, but I'm not going to spend the next 7 or 8 minutes soapboxing about how we're better than anyone else. The dire state of our current climate crisis means that we can't make an impact alone. We need forward-thinking merchants, as well as other logistics companies, to join our movement towards a greener supply chain. It's imperative for the preservation of our planet. And as you'll see in this presentation, it also makes good business sense. It's not easy to talk about in green circles, but switching to renewable energy sources is often expensive. Every dollar that gets divested from oil, gas, and other fossil fuel energy sources requires about $25 of investment to create the same or similar unit of energy from renewable sources. In the world of fulfillment, there will be large upfront switching costs from at every point in the line. But fortunately, the global attitude toward these costs is shifting. At the recent COP26 climate change conference, investment planning was fully integrated into the event, something that would have been unthinkable 10 or 15 years ago. But political pledges to make investments or to be net zero by 2050 are mostly hot air without the will of the businesses on the ground. It will take time and it will take money to wind down existing practices and to build new infrastructure. And yes, this may negatively affect some businesses in the short term. In a capitalist society, it's rational for a business to fight government regulations that would be costly or to resist voluntary changes that look like a short-term competitive disadvantage. And that's why we collectively need to welcome a broader vision that goes beyond the quarter, beyond the year, beyond the election cycle, and beyond the immediate ROI. We have to make an investment in the long-term future together. Vigorous individuals who are successful entrepreneurs, many of who are on this call today participating in the conference, have the talent to achieve goals that others think are impossible. And we need to harness that talent to heal and preserve our planet for future generations. As an e-commerce merchant, you have an opportunity to drive real change and to make this vision a reality. One way to do this is to become a certified B Corporation. Manifest is B Corp pending, and we aim to balance purpose and profit. Businesses are legally required to consider the impact of their decisions on workers, customers, community, and the environment. Manifest has taken the step of B Corp certification to adhere to a triple bottom line standard of people, profit, and planet. We are using a rising tide lifts all boats approach to partnerships. We can achieve great things and reach broader audiences through partnership. And we welcome any e-commerce business willing to join us on this journey. The first step is going to be to establish common ground. The United States is not alone in experiencing heightened political polarization that reaches all aspects of life. From infrastructure spending to mask wearing, the politics of government mandates is particularly fraught these days. Finding a path forward shouldn't be a duel to the death between the tree-hugging environmentalist and the cartoonish money bags capitalist. We need to move beyond polarized rhetoric, beyond polarized talking points that are unnecessarily politicized. Investing in our future is of concern to everyone on the political spectrum. And caring about the planet we leave our children is not a liberal or conservative issue, but it's a human issue. And so we need to find common ground, regardless of race, political background, belief system, etc. We're all in this together, and the climate and waste crisis affects us all. The goal here is to create a win-win environment with common understanding. Dale Carnegie cited in his famous book, quote, "Man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." So we have common challenges that are essential to us all. Plastics affect waterways, carbon pollutes the air, and these are shared natural global resources. It's important for us to remember, for all of us, that there is no planet B, and we're all going through this experience together and living on this planet together. Since government interventions continue to be divisive, the actions of the business community will be instrumental in creating momentum for change. Sustainable businesses can educate the public and mute polarized rhetoric. Every small business owner has scores of unique relationships with individuals and communities that they've built. Each of these touch points is an opportunity for creating unity and compelling action. At Manifest, we are partnered with 1% for the planet, with 1% of our profits essentially going back to environmental action. What initiatives does your business stand for? It's a question worth asking. And where can you join forces to expand awareness and increase shared visibility around your mission? Putting aside any moral imperatives or desires for social good, moving towards sustainability makes good business sense. We're in a new economy. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated changes in e-commerce, automation, outsourcing, and how we work and live our lives. We live in a capitalist society, and ROI is king. But keep in mind that the metrics are changing. Many companies are requiring ESG and corporate sustainability reporting. And our generation of business leaders can be a part of changing these metrics and creating results for the benefit of the world. As another example of changing metrics, the pandemic has sparked discussion about how we value laborers, like all those essential workers who are not being paid as if they were truly essential. It's tough for our society to have a growth mindset when many of its members make less than a living wage or only find employment day to day in a gig economy. Paying workers their true value is beneficial for all, and it's an idea that's gaining mass acceptance. The shift in metrics also applies to products and their impact on the environment. There's value in preserving a planet that future capitalists can live and spend on. Younger generations with ample spending power are putting a dollar amount on that value. And further, 40% of the global commerce is trending toward the sustainable consumer, making it ever more important to evolve your business in line with this trend. E-commerce retailers are moving towards sustainable practices in part because these emerging consumers are demanding it. Being green is a competitive advantage in this new paradigm. Manifest's vision is to help e-commerce merchants thrive in this new economy where sustainability is more than a moral concern, but it's also a profit driver. Solving our climate crisis, to sum up, will not be trivial. One piece that is immediately actionable is packaging and shipping for e-commerce retailers. Instead of junking up the ocean with packaging that will float around for the next couple hundred years, make the switch to plastic-free materials. Polymers that decompose in less than 2 years and cardboard boxes that are curbside recyclable will result in a massive reduction in packaging waste. As for shipping, carbon offsets can ensure that your footprint from end to end is neutral. All of this change for an e-commerce merchant can be offloaded to a 3PL like Manifest Commerce that is entirely a climate positive business. At Manifest, we like to think of ourselves as a gateway to helping merchants transform from being a part of the problem to leading a path to the solution. As a retailer, partnering with us means that you can easily connect your Shopify store or other platform-based shopping cart and immediately be ready to sell your products directly to your consumers or into over 130 marketplaces and B2B channels that we've established integrations with. This will allow you to spend your valuable time expertly running your business, creating new products, and finding new customers to delight, rather than worrying about the headaches of logistics. And the best part is, you can assure your eco-minded customers that their orders are environmentally conscious. E-commerce logistics is not the only solution when it comes to solving our global environmental problems. But as an e-commerce merchant, you have the opportunity to add to the positive momentum that our planet needs right now. The shift towards sustainability is inevitable. Do you want to be a part of the revolution? And can you afford not to be? Thank you.
Thanks, George. Yeah, so much is happening in our world of e-commerce and in our world of retail. As merchants start to think in more of a broader holistic sense and going omni-channel, it's just ever more important to have that support and infrastructure that's both environmentally friendly and also, serving the merchant. Because really it's like win-win-win, because the consumer is winning, the merchant's winning, the vendors are winning. We have to think of this, holistically. So
I totally agree with that, Jen. And I think change needs to happen when it makes sense, when it makes business sense. Like government can do all that they want and stuff, but people are going to resist it unless it makes sense. And so when we were starting this business, you and I and our other partners, Bob and Max, that was at top of mind. Like, we want to create a sustainable fulfillment model, but it also has to offer value that the modern e-commerce business owner needs to be competitive in today's marketplace. And so fusing both of those together has been critical, but the response from the e-commerce community has been great. So there has been tremendous growth just all around, and it's been just such a pleasure to be on this journey, and all the bumps and all the happy times along the way. Where it's really been good, and I'm really excited to have strong partners in this too, because there seems to be a really strong emerging trend of sustainable marketplaces, such as David's circular business. So we're really excited to welcome David to the stage to talk a little bit about circular. Welcome, David, all the way from Australia. I think it's like the middle of the night for you over there. Hi there. How you doing?
Hey, Jen. Hey, George. Hey, FounderMate community. How's everyone going? Hey.
So tell us a little bit about Circular, David, how it came to be, and the business model, and really the positive impact that you're creating for the sustainable e-commerce community.
Like everyone else, it started out of a pain point, a major pain point, and very much like George's story, coming from an industry that was operating in the conventional space. Circular was born out of our experiences as consumer brand owners over the last 20 years. And, we've always had sustainable, natural driven brands. And there was just such a huge disconnect between doing something that we knew was right for the person, for the user, for the environment, for people in communities, yet there was a huge disconnect as to where to sell them, how to connect with target buyers and users. And it's because a sustainable or mission-driven brand will always struggle to compete in a conventional world targeting conventional shoppers, purely driven on price. And then on the flip side, we've all experienced how difficult it is to shop sustainably. You know, you've got all the verifications that you have to review, then you've got to find the brands in the first place, and then you have to vet them, and then you have to shop from multiple different places. So we all just tended to give up. So circular merges the buyer and seller problem into one massive solution. And so circular is version 2 shopping model, not just for sustainable goods, but it's the sustainable shopping model for people, for communities, for animals and wildlife, for everything. So it encompasses everything that you guys have spoken about for today's and tomorrow's shopper. So it's version 2 of what we've become accustomed to.
Yeah, 100%. Well said. And when it comes to, thinking about who is welcomed into your marketplace, how do you vet those to join your marketplace? What's the process? Because I understand that there's a really strong vetting process for you to look at the ethics of a brand, to look at the environmental impact of a brand. Tell us about that, kind of the barrier of entry, or how someone becomes a part of your marketplace.
So creating a fair playing field for buyers and sellers was number one for Circular. And we've gone beyond just creating a sustainable business. It's also a platform where we've eliminated cheap knockoff brands, scammers, false reviews, anything that causes distrust, essentially, because in our minds, sustainability goes well beyond just the environmental factors. It talks about equality, inclusivity, fairness. It includes making sure that everyone who may not have the right budget can actually have a chance to sell and effectively connect with their product to the end consumer. So our vetting process really addresses the two key things. One is your product a genuinely sustainable product? And so we dive in and we work with brands. So it's not a hard yes and it's not a hard no, because our whole mission is about working with brands from the ground up. So we will dive super deep to make sure that we can also help brands that may not already be sustainable become sustainable, because it's going to become a necessity. Number two, we make sure that they are a genuine business. And we do this to make sure that they have the right to sell the brand and that it's a genuine business.
Excellent. That is wonderful. So it can be guaranteed that all shopping that happens on Circular, everything's been vetted, everything's earth friendly. So glad that you guys are doing what you're doing, and we're so thrilled to be partnered with you.
Likewise.
So we're gonna open it up to like a fireside chat here. We had some really great questions come in as we've all been chatting here. So we're gonna go through and talk through some of those. And one of the questions that came in from Leah, so she's asking what our thoughts are on 100% PIR, PCR packaging, PLA. So if not all of our customers will be properly disposing or composting, do we weigh what goes into manufacturing the packaging more, or the handling of that waste? And the answer from the 3PL standpoint is yes. When it comes to PLA, being like corn-based and having that type of element, if that does hit the landfill in kind of the traditional model, then it's better than a traditional plastic that's going to take 500 years to biodegrade. We also have strong partnerships with natural manufacturers. So, there's manufacturers out there that are taking Starbucks reusable plastics and recreating products from that. So we have, an index and a large portfolio of manufacturing partners for those merchants that aren't quite sure like where to go, like cosmetics is one of the biggest contributors. So, if you're curious about manufacturing and how to go more upstream or downstream in the supply chain, please do reach out, because we have connections there and be happy to point you in the right direction. So thank you for that question, Leah.
Well, echoing Jen, echoing you really quick, I also want to just respond to Leah and say that we take both into consideration. And much like how the trend in global commerce is going towards sustainability, we feel like it's definitely also happening on a consumer level. So hopefully, optimistically, as time goes on, more and more people will be disposing of compostable packaging, in a more responsible way. But we weigh both pretty evenly. And like, for example, with Manifest Commerce, we went through, we had conversations from Korea to North Carolina about finding a poly mailer that's durable enough, that is sustainable. We landed on a company that allows our poly mailers to essentially biodegrade, I think, in 763 days, compared to 20 years for the conventionally used poly mailers. And so we take both into consideration, and we have a fantastic operations team that is constantly looking at new and better solutions to be both environmentally friendly and do the job that e-commerce merchants need to get their packages to their customers' doorstep.
Awesome. Excellent. Jessica, it's so good to see you here. Haven't seen you in person since New York, but happy to see you on here, my friend. So Jessica has a question for you, David. She's asking about the specifics around home textile products and fashion. Does Circular support home textile and fashion products?
Absolutely. We cover every single category from A to Z. Because it solves the biggest problem, which is accessibility. So yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Awesome. Good stuff. We had another question come in regards to reverse logistics. So I'd love to hear from both of you in regards to reverse logistics. What do you think are the best solutions? This is everything from reusable packaging to, sourcing solutions to get to the end consumer, back to the 3PL and back out into market to, rework products and repurpose products. George, let's start with you on reverse logistics. Love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, reverse logistics is a super important component with a lot of cool solutions emerging in modern e-commerce. I think putting the pieces together among the different components to creating essentially what David's done with the first circular marketplace is creating a circular solution. You have a lot of companies out there that are selling used goods peer-to-peer, or working with a company like Treat out in San Francisco and setting up like a storefront for returns that have been inspected and are in great condition to sell, but they've been returned. So creating circularity, finding the partnerships. No one can do everything by themselves, and so that's why it's important for us to work with partners and brands like David and Circular, Treat. On the return side, we have a couple of very strong partners that we work with, and it's something that needs to be focused on to create circularity in e-commerce. It's already there. There's a lot of companies each doing these kind of like segmented that are seeing awesome growth. But putting the pieces together to creating a tight value proposition is what we're working with David and Circular and all of our other partners to do, so that it flows and so that it's actually it's very practical and easy to execute.
I totally echo that, George. We get asked that question a lot, especially for brands that operate within the rental space or for one-offs. And the fact is, re-commerce and this whole return system can be extremely difficult for brands because it is more expensive. But what it takes is commercial integrations and tech integrations to make it flow seamlessly, so that it doesn't become the burden of the few brands that want to do it. It becomes a light load when many do it. And that's why also Circular and Manifest and all of our connected partners essentially offload that burden of the few companies that want to do it so that it becomes far more affordable and easily accessible, to incorporate. In fact, I just saw a question that came up about, the huge barrier to entries with MOQs. Mm-hmm. And, it's totally correct. MOQs are across the board from, we've been in manufacturing, we've been in sourcing packaging, and MOQs for many businesses is often the tricky point. And I think we can all agree that if we can reduce those, we would open up so many more opportunities to becoming more sustainable. And so from day one, everything that Circular does and all of our partners that we operate with, everything from upcycling, recycling, revival, and resale on Circular has 0 minimums. So that means when you have a brand and you want to do the same things as all the world's top brands, those tools and those features that you want to do with your brand are now readily accessible. And it's just a matter of getting in touch with us. Finally, the Now is a resource. People like Jen and George and so many others that we work with that are connecting the dots, not just from a logistics perspective, but also from a sales perspective, giving your products a much longer lifespan. So yeah, awesome question.
I love how you put that, David, giving your products a much longer lifespan and capturing more revenue through it as well. There's the opportunities in the returns. The opportunities there actually lead to higher top line revenue instead of just letting the conventional course of these product life cycles express themselves in the way that they have for the last 10, 15, 20 years.
Well, I have to jump in and, I love all of the questions that are happening in the chat box. And one comment I wanted to read, Stephanie said, sustainability is incredibly important. Thank you for creating a session on this. As a new seafood product brand, partnering with ethical fisheries as well and setting up a sustainably oriented packaging distribution supply chain is really important. So everyone was very thrilled to have this conversation. Thank you all so much for having it. And thanks, Jen, for leading the conversation.